Good morning, MegaPodlinks. It's Crazy Joe, and I want to review a movie for you. I want to talk about a movie. This is not a movie I saw in the theater. This is a movie that went direct to Blu-ray. It came out a couple weeks ago, and I had the opportunity to watch it. If you're like me, if you grew up in the 80s, you may just love The Monster Squad. The Monster Squad, a true 80s classic. I love this movie. Well, they made a documentary about it. A couple weeks ago, a documentary came out called Wolfman's Got Nards. Wolfman's Got Nards, a documentary. The Monster Squad and its fan base get the documentary they deserve. There you go. So there it is. Wolfman's Got Nards. Now, if you've seen Monster Squad, you know what Wolfman's Got Nards is in reference to. It is a line from the movie, one of the most famous lines. This is a pretty good documentary. This is a documentary about the cast and filmmakers of The Monster Squad. It was directed by Fred Decker, written by Shane Black, who also wrote and directed Iron Man 3. He was in Predator. He wrote the Lethal Weapon movies. Shane Black was quite prolific back in the 80s, and he wrote Monster Squad. It was originally conceived of as Little Rascals Meet Frankenstein. That's the movie he was trying to make, was Little Rascals Meet Frankenstein. And it turned into The Monster Squad. What's interesting about Monster Squad is this movie has quite a cult following. Oh, this movie. This movie has quite a cult following. But it was a bomb. This movie was a big theatrical mega bomb when it opened back in the 80s. This movie was not a hit even a little bit. It found a cult audience on VHS. That's how my brother and I found it. My brother and I used to rent this movie all the time. This was like a perennial rental. If we couldn't decide on something, we would kind of settle on two movies, either Monster Squad or Joe Dante's Explorers. Explorers and Monster Squad were kind of our go-to compromise films if we couldn't find anything else. So that's how Monster Squad developed a cult following. What's interesting is the cast and crew of Monster Squad did not know. They did not know that there was a big cult following for Monster Squad. They didn't find out until about 2007. 2007 was the 20th anniversary of the film. And right around then, the cast and crew who thought they had made this bomb of a movie started to find out there was a very, very devoted fan base for the movie. Then the movie came out on Blu-ray. Actually, it came out on DVD first, then it came out on Blu-ray. But then the movie came out on DVD. It had been out of print. It had been out of print. You could only get bootlegs of it, or maybe if you had an old VHS copy. But you could not buy this movie. So it came out on DVD. And it was one of the top-selling films that year on DVD, to everyone's surprise. So Alamo Drafthouse started having revival screenings, and the cast got back together. Fred Decker, who wrote the movie, he, 20 years after the fact, found out he made a cult classic. He really did not know anyone remembered this movie. So Andre Gower, who plays Sean in Monster Squad, and Ryan Lambert, who plays Rudy, and Ashley Bank, who plays Phoebe, they kind of went on a tour to various cities showing screenings of the Monster Squad, found out they had this fan base they did not know they had. Well, this documentary was shot by Andre Gower, the star of Monster Squad. He played Sean in the Monster Squad. He directed this documentary, and it's sort of about the time he and Ashley and Ryan Lambert, who played Rudy, the time they spent on the road, going from city to city, doing promotional appearances for the 20th anniversary of the film, and learning about the devoted fan base that they did not know existed. It's pretty good. It's pretty good, and it's kind of a nice story that these guys thought they had made something very, very disappointing, and then later on found out it meant a lot to a lot of people. It meant a lot to me. I remember a few years ago, 2012, like a week or two before I met my wife. A week or two before I met my wife, I was in LA with Mr. Dave Perillo from the Lunchbox Bunch. Dave was doing an art show. We went out to LA, and I decided to take the backstage tour of Warner Brothers. I went to the Warner Brothers Burbank studio, and got the backstage tour. And I saw the main street, the town square where they shot the Monster Squad. And I was so excited. I was outside the church and everything. I'm like, this is where they shot the Monster Squad. I also found out it's where they shot the Muppets. The 2011 Muppets movie was also shot on that same backlot. It was very exciting for me. Of all the things they shot there, I was so excited. I'm like, I'm in the town from the Monster Squad. This is where they banished Dracula. So, yeah. I was really excited to watch this documentary. They talk a lot about Brent Challam. Brent Challam played Horace, a.k.a. Fat Kid in the movie. Unfortunately, Brent passed away in the 90s. So he never got to live to see the cult success. He really didn't know that there was a huge fan base for this movie. He never got to experience it, which is a shame. And the others talk about how he would have really loved the revival of popularity had he gotten to see it. So that's a shame. Also, there's a couple people that really aren't in the documentary that I thought was interesting. For example, if you watch the movie, the Monster Squad initially is Sean and his friend Patrick, played by Robbie Kiger. And eventually they meet Rudy, and they invite Rudy to join the club with them. But Rudy was not one of the original members. It was Sean and Patrick. Well, the actor who plays Patrick, Robbie Kiger, he doesn't make any of these promotional appearances, and they don't talk about what happened to him. Like, whatever happened to Robbie Kiger? How come he's not a part of these promotional tours they go on? They also don't mention the actor who played Eugene, the youngest member of the Monster Squad, Eugene. You may remember the mummy came in his room. But Eugene was played by Michael Faustino, who's the brother of David Faustino, Bud Bundy from Married with Children. He also does not take part in any of the touring or promotional appearances they make. So what happened to Michael Faustino? I don't know. But if you're a fan of the Monster Squad, I recommend this documentary. You should really check this out if you're a Monster Squad fan. It's worth watching. And if you've never seen the Monster Squad, you got to watch the Monster Squad. I always say, there's that line in Pulp Fiction. Actually, I take that back. This line is not in Pulp Fiction. This is a deleted scene from Pulp Fiction. So if you've never watched the deleted scenes of Pulp Fiction, you may have never seen this scene. But there's a scene in Pulp Fiction, a deleted scene, where Mia Wallace comes down with a camcorder and starts interviewing Vincent Vega. And she asks him if he's an Elvis man or a Beatles man. And she explains that an Elvis man can like the Beatles and a Beatles man can like Elvis, but eventually you have to make a choice. Are you an Elvis man or are you a Beatles man? And Vincent says he's an Elvis man. And then later on in the movie, there is a scene that's in the movie where she says, she calls him an Elvis man. She's like, this is Jack Rabbit Slims. An Elvis man should love it. But the scene where they talked about the Elvis man versus Beatle man was cut out. So if you've never watched the deleted scenes, that kind of explains why she calls him an Elvis man later on. So why am I ranting about Pulp Fiction? Well, I've always said you're either a Monster Squad fan or a Goonies fan. And a Goonies fan can like the Monster Squad, and a Monster Squad fan can like the Goonies, but eventually you got to make a choice, one or the other, which is the one you prefer. I think they're very similar movies. They're movies about young kids going on an adventure, and the Goonies, it's a pirate adventure. Monster Squad, it's a monster adventure. So they're similar movies in my opinion. And if you got to make a choice, I am a Monster Squad guy, not a Goonies guy. I like the Goonies. I do like the Goonies. But if I have to make a choice, I'm a Monster Squad guy. Which are you? Are you a Monster Squad or a Goonies person? And remember, you can like both, but you got to make a choice. Which do you like more? For me, it's the Monster Squad. There you go. Wolfman's got Nards. If you're a fan of Monster Squad, be sure and check this out. I think it's worth it. It's a well-done documentary, and it's made by one of the cast, so you know it's made with love. All right, guys, till next time, keep wearing those pajamas.
Keep wearing those pajamas with the plastic feet. Keep wearing those pajamas. Tell everyone you meet. Keep wearing those pajamas with the back door flap. Keep wearing those pajamas. Don't open, it's a trap. Oh no, it's a trap. Some people call them PJs, some people call them them jammies. They can come embroidered with big money and no whammies. They can have 100 tiny Commander Adamas, but no matter how they look, just keep on wearing those pajamas.
Keep on wearing those pajamas.
Keep wearing those pajamas. And now we're having fun.
Keep wearing those pajamas.
And now the song is done.